What's up, shredheads? In today's video, we are talking about the best time to sell your Pokemon cards to make the most money and have the most fun in the hobby. Before we get started, we are on the road to 8k. I would love to hit 8k subscribers before Christmas. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do hit the subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button while you're here. Now let's get ready, shreddy, and go into today's video.
Ready for shredding?
So guys, today we are talking about the best time to sell Pokemon cards. Christmas time, bitches. The best meaning when you're going to be able to make the most money, but also to not sicken yourself and kind of leave the hobby annoyed. Now the reason I say that is because Pokemon prices, despite what people say, do go down. I've covered this in videos. I've covered this in my last video. Prices go up, prices go down. That's a different discussion, a different topic for another day. But because prices do fluctuate, it's hard sometimes to know when the best, the quote unquote best time to sell cards is. How do we define what the best time is? Most people probably think, oh, well, the best time is to sell when the market's at the highest and you're going to make the most money. Yes, that would be good. But we don't know when the market is at its highest unless we're looking back in hindsight after we've dipped. For example, like what we've seen over the past month or so with base sets, unlimited base sets in general, but base set unlimited in particular. It's easy to look back and think, oh well, everyone should have sold 3 weeks ago. It's obvious that the price was going to drop. Yeah, but people were also saying it was obvious prices were going to drop 3 months ago, 6 months ago. And the prices kept going up like that. So, if we are defining the best time to sell as in selling for the maximum profit, then it's hard to always pinpoint when the market is at its highest. Honestly, it's impossible to say. We can only speculate on when we think prices are going up, prices are going down. People can only speculate about what's going on in the market. So, to sell cards at their maximum profit is dependent completely on what you bought these cards for. So I have a ton of cards from 12 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, that even if I sold them in, let's say March of this year, I would have made a lot of money on them. I've bought cards this year in April, May, June time that if I'd sold them a month ago, I would have made a lot of money on them on. But the cards I bought 10, 12 years ago, I could have sold when the market wasn't at its highest, and the profit I'd have had in that would have been a lot higher than if I bought cards in June and then flipped them like 2 months later, for example. So first up, the best time to sell is very individualistic. And in all honesty, guys, the best, I don't want to go off on a rant here, but this is what these videos end up being, just podcasting kind of style of rants. The best is hard to define, if not impossible to define. Similar scenario with working out. People say, well, what is the best workout? There's dozens, hundreds of different ways you can work out to get the same results. Yes, there's more optimal ways of working out for certain people, but it's all very individualistic. The same when it comes to selling cards. But I'm going to try and do my best to try and help you guys decide or define when the best time to sell is. So, kind of again going back to categories that I've mentioned in previous videos. Are you a flipper? Are you a collector? And I want to bundle collectors and investors together. Even though I think collectors are a different breed to investors, I want to kind of bundle collectors and investors together with a little bit of a caveat as well. Flipper, when is the best time to sell? Literally, as soon as you're happy with whatever margin you've made on it, that is the time to sell ASAP. If you're buying cards today, Saturday, whatever the date is, 20th of November, something like that. If you're buying cards today, then if you're a flipper, you're probably wanting to be selling that card within the next 7, 14, 21 days, 2-3 week time. And just make a little bit of a markup on that. You might double your money depending on the market, or depending if you've got a good bargain. You might make 20%, you might make 50%. Depends on the card, depends on how much you bought it for, depends on what the market's going like when you come to sell, depends on what the individual seller you're dealing with, how bad they want the card. A couple of different factors in that. But for a flipper, the best time to sell is when you've made a substantial profit or substantial markup on that card. You want to just offload that as quickly as possible. I've flipped in the past when I was younger to basically grow my own collection, and whenever you're happy with, you know, however much money you can make, that's the time to sell it. Sometimes it's literally a case of you buy your card because you've got it for a steal price, a really good deal. As soon as you get that delivered, you take the photos of it, you list it back on eBay because you know you've bought it very cheap because it was maybe listed poorly or it was part of a bundle of cards that wasn't featured. So you can kind of just flip it straight away and instantly make money, and you know your profit's being made. I'm not a flipper now. I very, very, very rarely sell things. I am a collector, and I want to kind of categorize myself in that collector slash long-term investor category, because some of the items that I've bought this year I probably will sell in, who knows, 15 years time, 10 years time, 20 years time. But because I'm a collector, they're also items that I want as part of my collection. The items that if the market drops and the prices drop on them, I don't care because, oh well, it's part of my collection. If the price in 10, 15, 20 years time means that card is going to give me a life-changing amount of money, then yeah, I'd probably be willing to sell. So if you're a collector or investor, when is the best time to sell? Not when we're going through a dip, or not when we're going through a market retrace or a market correction, however you want to define that, however you want to call that, like what we're seeing now with a lot of the base set cards. When you start seeing cards dropping, some people will panic, some people will think they're losing money, some people want to cut the losses. I would personally, unless I was in really, really bad circumstances, I would never, ever, ever want to sell a card at a loss, because deep down I'm a collector. So if I bought that card originally, it's because I want it anyway. The only time that people really would sell in a loss would be if they've got some really, you know, bad situation going on in their life that they need money for desperately, and they've got to just, you know, raise money however they can. They've got to sell these cards. How to avoid that situation? It sounds common sense, but just have savings set aside. Like, a lot of what I say on this channel is common sense, or at least to me it seems like common sense, but I don't want that to come across as patronising whatsoever. I'm not saying, oh, I'm this great guy who knows everything. I'm not at all. I'm not rich. I'm not a millionaire. I don't have the best collection out there. Like, I am not an expert in this kind of field. However, to me it just seems like common sense that, let's say my boiler was to break, yeah, I wouldn't want to have to dip into selling Pokemon cards or selling, you know, items like computer games or clothes, whatever it is you've got in the house. I wouldn't want to be in a position where I've got to sell items that I cherish, items that I collect, just to pay like a mundane bill. I know, a boiler breaking, you need new tyres on the car, your car's broken down, something silly like that. Yeah, it sucks when that thing, like those kinds of situations arise, but that's why it's always good to have savings in the bank. And ever since I was a kid, I've always been decent. I've been able to just get money, not kind of frivolously like waste it or just spend it for the sake of it, and kind of put money aside and have a little bit of savings. So the way to avoid selling at a loss is to not have a need to sell, and that's by having savings in the bank. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to, you know, manage your finances, because I'm not a financial advisor. There'll be, you know, experts out there who can do that way better than what I can. But just a tip from me would be always have some money set aside in the bank, rainy day fund, whatever you want to call it, to ensure you don't have to sell out of desperation, okay? So then it comes to collectors. When is the best time to sell? Well, that's a hard one, because for me as a collector, I hate getting rid of anything. I'm the kind of collector, really, in all honesty, that as long as I've got one of everything I want, I'm pretty happy with it. I don't need doubles and doubles and doubles, or, you know, multiple copies of the same card or the same item. I'm more than content with just having a single card. That being said, I have got multiple base sets complete. I have got multiple vintage WotC cards, all raw, not not PSA graded. I've got multiple. It's off for grading at the minute, but I've got multiple legendary collection sets complete. And in all honesty, for me as a collector, as long as I've got one, I'm happy with that. So what will I do as a collector? To be honest, just laziness. I've not got round to selling some of the duplicates I've got. And also, I've kind of seen it as I don't have a need for, some of these older cards I've got might sell for £10 a card, £12, £15 a card. It's going to take a lot. I'm going to have to be in the mindset and in the mood to be able to, sit down, get all these cards together, actually see what I've got, start listing them to get that money coming back. So for me, as a collector, I'm not really selling stuff because there's nothing... It's very rare that I need to fund a new purchase. There has been a couple of things I've been looking to buy, where, for example, PSA 10 First Edition Dark Charizard is on my hit list at the minute, as is the Dark Blastoise from that set. If I go ahead and pull the trigger on those cards, I might be in a position where I've got to sell some of my collection to be able to fund that next purchase. And because most of my cards were bought, collected like 10, 12, 8 years ago, pretty much it doesn't matter what the price is at the minute, I can sell, use that money to buy something else. So going back to defining that best time to sell Pokemon cards, the best time, or the way that I would put across the best time, is whenever you, the owner of the card, is happy to sell for the amount that's on the table, and you're not being placed in a position where you're being forced to sell the cards. The decision to sell is kind of off your own back. You've made your decision to sell. You're not kind of being forced into a situation where you need money quick and it's like, I've got to sell my cards. That's the worst time to sell. The best time to sell would be when you're happy with either the return you're going to make on it, the profit you're going to make on it, the markup, the investment you've made on it. They all boil down to the same thing. Whether you're happy with how much money you're going to make on that card is the best time to sell, and that pretty much comes down to it. This video is not a shocking revelation by any sense. A lot of the videos I've got planned to do, and a lot of the videos I'm going to be making, to me it's almost like, does this need a video? But then I just think like the conversations I have on Instagram with people kind of makes me think, yeah, like this video, to me, the idea of this video just seems like common sense. Don't sell cards at a loss, and don't sell cards if you don't want to. That to me seems like so basic, so like very obvious. It seems like common sense. It doesn't require a 15-minute YouTube video to say that. However, when speaking to people on Instagram, I'm getting asked questions or discussing topics with people that kind of lead me to having the same discussions over and over again. So then I think, yes, it's, to me, I think this is common sense, I think this is obvious, but to other people, maybe it's not, and that's why I've kind of made this video today. So, the best time to sell varies if you are a flipper, collector, or investor. Obviously, the best time to sell is when the market's at sky high and you're going to make a crap ton of money on it. But we never know when the market is at its peak, because yes, the market could be at its all-time high today, and then tomorrow it could go higher and go higher. And I know people on Instagram who have bought PSA 10 base set Charizard Unlimited, base set Charizard, sold for over £4,000. 10 days later, it was going for American auctions $30,000. Like, who the hell was going to see such a price rise coming? And then it's easy to look back and think, oh, I wish I kept it. But the guy who sold it for £4,000 made a very nice markup on that originally anyway. So it's like, kind of be content and kind of be happy with the position you're in, rather than always regretting and wanting more, is probably a good takeaway from this video. Sorry if this has not been an enlightening or a earth-shattering video. To be honest, it's just common sense to me. Like, I want to just stress that, like, nothing what I'm saying here is a revelation. And I hope that if you guys didn't think along these lines, I hope now you've heard me say it, it's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. And I hope it helps you out from selling cards, rather than panic selling at a loss, or trying to, I hope it helps you guys out in some way. Keep hold of some of these cards you've got, or maybe helps you get more profit, or just means that you don't panic sell, or a situation comes up where you've got to get rid of cards when you really don't want to. And that kind of wraps up today's video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I mentioned earlier, we are on the road to 8k subs. So if you could hit that subscribe button, I would very much appreciate it if you would do so. If you could hit that thumbs up button, it would help this video out a lot. Leave a comment down below to let me know what your thoughts are on the topic I've spoken about today and what topics you'd like to see me talk about in upcoming videos. Do you enjoy these podcasts, just ranty style videos? If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know what else you want to see me make for you guys. That's it for now. Until next time, I am the jacked stacked serial thriller of Pokemon card collecting, and I want you to remember that collecting ain't no gimmick, it's a lifestyle.